But such great crowds gathered about him that he got into a boat and remained sitting there, while all the throng stood on the shore. And he told them many things in parable stories, by way of illustration and comparison, saying, A sower went out to sow, and as he sowed, some seeds fell by the roadside, and the birds came and ate them up. Other seeds fell on rocky ground, where they had not much soil, and at once they sprang up because they had no depth of soil. But when the sun rose, they were scorched, and because they had no root, they dried up and withered away. Other seeds fell among thorns, and the thorns grew up and choked them out. Other seeds fell on good soil and yielded grain, some 100 times as much as was sown, some 60 times as much, and some 30. He who has ears to hear, let him be listening, and let him consider and perceive and comprehend by hearing. Then the disciples came to him and said, Why do you speak to them in parables? And he replied to them, To you it has been given to know the secrets and mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it has not been given. For whoever has spiritual knowledge, to him will be more given, and he will be furnished richly, so that he will have abundance. But from him who has not, even what he has will be taken away. This is the reason that I speak to them in parables, because having the power of seeing, they do not see, and having the power of hearing, they do not hear, nor do they grasp and understand. In them, indeed, is the process of fulfillment of the prophecy of Isaiah, which says, You shall indeed hear and hear, but never grasp and understand, and you shall indeed look and look, but never see and perceive. For this nation's heart has grown gross, fat, and dull, and their ears heavy and difficult of hearing, and their eyes they have tightly closed, lest they see and perceive with their eyes, and hear with their heart, and turn, I should heal them. But blessed, happy, fortunate, and to be envied are your eyes because they do see, and your ears because they do hear. Truly I tell you, many prophets and righteous men, men who were upright and in right standing with God, yearned to see what you see, and did not see it, and to hear what you hear, and did not hear it. Listen then to the meaning of the parable of the sower. While anyone is hearing the word of the kingdom and does not grasp and comprehend it, the evil one comes and attaches away. He snatches away what was sown in his heart. This is what was sown along the roadside. As for what was sown on thin, rocky soil, this is he who hears the word and at once welcomes and accepts it with joy. Yet it has no real root in him, but is temporary, inconstant, lasts but a while. And when affliction or trouble or persecution comes on account of the word, at once he is caused to stumble. He is repelled and begins to distrust and desert him whom he ought to trust and obey, and he falls away. As for what was sown among, yet it has no real root in him, but is temporary, inconsistent, lasts but a while. And when affliction or trouble or persecution comes on account of the word, at once he is caused to stumble. He is repelled and begins to distrust and desert him, who he ought to trust and obey, and he falls away. As for what was sown among thorns, this is he who hears the word, but the cares of the world and the pleasures and delight and glamour and deceitfulness of riches choke and suffocate the word, and it yields no fruit. As for what was sown on good soil, this is he who hears the word and grasps and comprehends it. He indeed bears fruit and yields in one case 100 times as much as was sown, in another 60 times as much, in another 30. Another parable he set forth before them, saying, The kingdom of heaven is like a man who sowed good seed in his field. But while he was sleeping, his enemy came and sowed also darnel, weeds, rumbling wheat, among the wheat, and went on his way. So when the plants sprouted and formed grain, the darnel, the weeds, appeared also. And the servant of the owner came to him and said, Sir, did you not sow good seed in your field? Then how does it have darnel shoots in it? He replied to them, An enemy has done this. The servant said to him, Then do you want us to go and weed them out? But he said, No, lest in gathering the wild wheat, weeds resembling wheat, you root up the true wheat along with it. I'll make sure that I'm not turning 2 pages. Let them grow together until the harvest. And at harvest time I will say to the reapers, Gather the darnel first, and bind it in the bundles to be burned, but gather the wheat into my granary. Another story, by way of comparison, he set forth before them, saying, The kingdom of heaven is like a grain of mustard seed, which a man took and sowed in his field. Of all the seeds it is the smallest, but when it has grown, it is the largest of the garden herbs, and becomes a tree, so that the birds of the air come and find shelter in its branches. He told them another parable. The kingdom of heaven is like leaven, sourdough, which a woman took and covered over in 3 measures of meal or flour, till all of it was leavened. These things, all taken together, Jesus said to the crowds in parables. Indeed, without a parable he said nothing to them. This was in fulfillment of what was spoken by the prophet, I will open my mouth in parables. I will utter things that have been hidden since the foundation of the world. Then he left the throngs and went into the house. And his disciples came to him, saying, Explain to us the parable of the darnel in the field. And he answered, He who sows the good seed is the Son of Man. The field is the world, and the good seed means the children of the kingdom. The darnel is the children of the evil one, and the enemy who sowed it is the devil. The harvest is the close and consummation of the age, and the reapers are angels. Just as the darnel, weeds, resembling wheat, is gathered and burned with fire, so it will be at the close of the age. The Son of Man will send forth his angels, and they will gather out of his kingdom all cause of offense, persons by whom others then are drawn into error or sin, and all who do iniquity and act wickedly, and will cast them into the furnace of fire. There will be weeping and wailing and gnashing and grinding of teeth. Then will the righteous, those who are upright and in right standing with God, shine forth like the sun in the kingdom of their Father. Let him who has ears to hear be listening, and let him consider and perceive and understand by hearing. The kingdom of heaven is like something precious buried in a field, which a man found and hid again. Then, in his joy, he goes and sells all that he has and buys that field. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a man who is a dealer in search of fine and precious pearls, who on finding a single pearl of great price went and sold all he had and bought it. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a dragnet, which was cast into the sea and gathered in fish of every sort. When it was full, men dragged it up on the beach and sat down and sorted out the good fish into baskets. But the worthless ones they threw away. So it will be at the close and consummation of the age. The angels will go forth and separate the wicked from the righteous, those who are upright and in right standing with God, and cast them, the wicked, into the furnace of fire. There will be weeping and wailing and grinding of teeth. Have you understood all these things? parables. Taken together, they said to him, Yes, Lord.